Right.
Okay.
Guess who stayed at my place last night? She was about to camp on the river in Peterborough, where all the a lot of drug activity happens. So I was like, no, don't sleep there.
Peterborough.
No, come with me. You don't know me, but come on,
Come on.
stay at my place.
Yeah, they call me Happy.
Now, I always get it's Dianne, but it's not.
It's Dianne is my name, and my friends call me Dee. But with an Irish father and a French mother, you can see how there may be some identity mix up in there somewhere. But basically, yeah, my friends call me Dee.
She is a filmmaker, and she's now working on a film called 500 Days in the Wild.
That's right.
And you passed 500 days.
Well, come on, not quite. But clearly the journey is going to be a lot longer than 500 days. But maybe, in effect, 500 of the days will be in the wild, because many of them are not, like this moment right now. The Trans-Canada Trail is, of course, the longest trail in the world. It's 24,000 kilometers. It connects 3 oceans, the Atlantic, the Arctic, and the Pacific. And, it goes to 1,000 communities in Canada. So there are times where I'm weeks without seeing a person. But certainly in the last 2 months, between Quebec City, Montreal, Ottawa, now heading into Toronto, almost beautiful Peterborough, I'm through a lot of communities. So it's not really in the wild.
She survived my neighbor last night. Donnie came over for a visit. It didn't go well.
It did. It went well.
All right, here's Donnie. This is the guy we're talking about.
I've been selling light bulbs for 42 years, agent for those wing chuckers in Toronto. Tell you what my dad, Harvey Bowden, used to say. He used to say, Donnie, don't worry about what you didn't do yesterday, what you gotta do tomorrow, because you get nothing done today. You want me to say that again?
I think I got it.
I got it. She's lucky. She gets to continue on across Canada. I have to live here.
Got any advice for me, Donnie, on the trail?
Keep it simple. Don't worry about tomorrow. Wear your Bliss decks.
All right.
SPF 30.
Okay. Cover up.
All right.
Yeah.
Because that UV is about 8 or 9. It'll burn the hide right off you.
The idea of you doing the trail, okay, so you think about it.
Mm-hmm.
It's not going to take a year, not going to take 2 years. You were thinking 3, maybe even 4.
3, maybe even 4.
Yeah. What were you thinking?
Wait, when at the beginning?
Well, actually, what are you thinking now?
Yeah, what am I thinking? Well, I mean, now I'm thinking I'm having the best days of my life. I mean, it's been a year, so I'm, any fear or apprehension that I had going into it, well, it hasn't been substantiated by anything really terrible. So I'm just kind of getting into my groove, and it's taken a year for my body to actually start feeling a little bit more competent, because I'm mountain bike riding, and then I'm backpacking, and then I'm snowshoeing, and then I'm canoeing, and they all use different muscles. My body's kind of adapting to it, my spirit's adapting to it.
You basically are worried about it ending.
Yeah.
But you're also taking this not as like a marathon type A person. You're very slow and meticulous in what you're doing, and you want to enjoy the surroundings. You want to enjoy my neighbor visiting.
Yeah, I want to enjoy your coffee, right? And enjoy conversation with people.
Is that what the trail's about?
I think so. I think the trail, at least symbolically for me, connects us all. For all the cultural diversity in our country, which I absolutely adore. I love the Quebec. I love First Nations. I love the diversity of culture in our country. But really, facing some of the things that are happening on the planet right now, I'm more intrigued by what connects us all. And the trail is a symbol of that. It's like an umbilical cord that runs through our country, and it's the blood that goes through it all that connects us all, to me, symbolically. And so for me, that's definitely a part of the journey. I would be doing this whether I was making a film or not, because I love being in nature. It's where I feel the most at home. The journey is really about, the film's really about how maybe everything we need to know, we have forgotten. And so going back and doing this trail is returning to the old way. It's moving slower. It's leaving your watch at home. It's being one with, the nature really is sort of dictating the speed that I travel, if I travel that day, and all of it, right? And I think it's kind of interesting that, when the settlers first came to Canada, there were people that had been here, First Nations people that had been here for 12,000, 14,000 years. And they had a paradigm, a perception of the world at that time, that the earth was sacred, the water was sacred, the land was sacred, the air was sacred. And it didn't, it all seemed rather old-fashioned to the modern world. But in effect, what time has shown us, what 400 years later has shown us, is those values were right. And so, I mean, in part, that's what I've learned anyway in just being out there for 1 year, is that, it's really science and technology without traditional ecological knowledge is a child without a parent, and it's time for us to grow up a little bit.
I'm speechless. For once in my life, I got nothing to say. I asked you last night what was the most misadventure along the way.
Yeah, well, we say there's profound experiences and misadventures, and sometimes that one leads to the other. But I've had a couple. One was up on the Bredor Lake, paddling a canoe solo on the Bredor Lake. It's only a 300-kilometer paddle, and
It's only a 300 kilometer.
Well, I thought maybe a week, right? I thought a week. It took me 40 days to do that paddle, just because the winds were crazy, and I really had to, wait for my windows of opportunity to move along it. And I was also breaking in. It was the first solo canoe trip I'd ever done. So, yeah.
So the one last question I want to
Yeah.
ask you, what's next after you've done all this?
After 500 days in the wild? It's a great question. I really wish I could answer it, Kevin. I don't know. I know I'm out here for a couple years, then the film will come out, then I'll hole myself up somewhere and write the book, which is one of my favorite parts of these projects.
Just so you know, okay, the real you, okay? She drank all my wine. All right? It's gone. There's nothing left. She said, Kevin, you're sleeping on the couch. I'm on the big bed upstairs because I'm diva.
Yeah, right.
Oh, yes.
Oh, not.
Yes.
Oh, not.
She insisted on a big breakfast before she goes off into the wilderness again. She used all the water for the shower.
Oh, yeah,
I had to
right.
just bathe with just like that. That's
I
the
know.
real you.
Yeah.
500 days in the wild. Were you supposed to be on the trail early this morning?
Yeah, I know, man. Things are getting off a little late here.
Well, here she is with her bike.
Ah!
It's a very high glossy bike. It's brand new, is it?
Oh, yeah, right. It's 35 years old, man. But, they don't make them like they used to. It's kind of like us. Yeah, love this bike. Love this bike. And right now we're going in for a new tire. It's my front tire's bald. And it's taken me most of my life to learn that it's easier to deal with the problem before the problem. So, feeling really proud of myself. I'm actually going to go deal with the problem before it's a problem.
What about the hat?
What about my hat?
When did you get it and how long have you been wearing it?
Well, I'm always wearing a hat. It's kind of my signature. First of all, I got to keep the sun off the top of my head, right? And I like a straw hat because I can dip it in the water and get it cool and put it on top of my head. But this is my 4th hat in a year.
And the
I like
cedar on your hat, is that a daily thing you do?
Yeah, almost a daily thing. It's usually, I put a fresh sprig of cedar in there. It's, again, it's more of an intuitive thing. I don't have a rational, logical explanation for it. It's a sort of got spiritual sort of value to a lot of the indigenous people in BC where I'm from, so.
I always just thought you hit a tree yesterday and didn't know the cedar was there.
Okay, shit. Is it that obvious, Kevin? Because there's kind of some truth to that too.
All right, here we are. This is Wild Rock Outfitters.
Yoo-hoo!
And they're going to fix your bike.
Right on.
She hasn't left yet. What day is it now?
It's actually I was only off 1 day.
If you see her on the trail, don't invite her into your home. She drinks all your wine. That's terrible. And she just doesn't leave. I think it's a scam. In fact, has anybody ever seen her on the trail? I think she just goes wandering into people's neighborhoods and stealing the resources. The funny thing is the neighbors didn't want her to leave. They were crying this morning.
That's because they're really worried about you. They want you to get a girlfriend, like yesterday.
Oh, was that your sage?
Yeah, it is my sage.
And you are burning that every morning along the trail?
Yeah, I don't burn it when I come off the trail, and I do come off the trail. Right now, when I go through communities, I meet people like you. I have these wonderful exchanges, and I get caught up in that. But when I go back, it's part of it's just to get me back into that place of, I like to just remind myself that the earth is sacred and that, the trees are sacred. And I just say a little prayer and I hold space for all the murdered Aboriginal women in Canada. And for me, those women are the daughters of the ancestors, and it just seems really appropriate to hold space for them as I go out to the land that was once theirs, that they so kindly shared with us.
yeah, it's pretty cool what she's doing. In all honesty, she's going across the trail and taking 3-4 years to do it, and she's involving herself with the community along the way, meeting great people, and she's going to make a change for sure. She has enthused many people to the point that the neighbors don't want her to leave.
And you can find Kevin on Matchmaker. He might have put his profile into the gay men section accidentally, but he's on Matchmaker.
I did, but that's a different story. Cut!